I'm here at Idea City, Moses Znaimer's big 3-day Think conference. It's fascinating for not just the people who come to listen, but the people they come to listen to, including my friend Patrick Moore. How you doing?
I'm doing great,
nice
Ezra.
Nice to see you. I mean, you're traveling around the world fighting for golden rice. Let's just talk for 1 minute about that. You've been pushing allowgoldenrice.org. Do I have that right?
That is right. Allowgoldenricenow.org.
Now, thank you for correcting that.
Yeah, but it's easy to find.
Okay. Now, you are basically fighting to allow vitamin-enhanced rice to be given to starving kids in the third world. Tell me more about it.
Well, actually, I think we've won on the political front, and India is now going to take the lead in GM foods. Prime Minister Modi is a modern man, and he understands the importance of improving agricultural productivity in that country and energy development. He's got 300 million people to lift out of poverty, and he has basically censored Greenpeace and said, get out of this country, because we don't need you to be causing civil strife and destroying our agriculture and energy policies, which is the only way we can bring these people out of poverty.
Yeah, and
so,
Greenpeace India has been very badly behaved. I see just the other day they're in the news for sexual harassment in their offices and an accusation of rape. So, I mean, their politics are bad, but their own personal conduct, they're deeply discredited in India, aren't they?
I think they're done there myself. They have some support from the Gandhi side, from Congress, but Congress just got thrown out of office because they've become so corrupt over the years.
Let me ask you this. I mean, we eat GMO foods in North America. Anyone who eats corn, who eats sugar, who eats soy, who eats yogurt. Why is Greenpeace almost going after third world poor starving countries first? Like, why are they being so rough on the weakest, poorest, hungriest people? What's the psychology there?
Well, the simple answer is they're stupid, and the unfortunate real answer is that it makes money for them.
So Greenpeace makes money by beating up on India?
They make money in Germany and Europe by beating up on the third world, because I hear rich professors in Germany who should be knowledgeable about international affairs. They say, we mustn't let those Indonesians make the same mistakes we did.
So where are the countries that could really benefit from golden rice? India? How about the Philippines? Do they eat it there?
All the tropical countries which eat rice, including Mexico, some South American countries, but primarily Africa and Asia.
Okay, so that's a bit of a briefing on golden rice and India and Greenpeace. You tell me that you've had some success. What does that look like in real life? Are people planting these crops? Has it been approved for human consumption? Where is the line right now?
It is unfortunately going to be another few years before golden rice hits the market. But it's more and more certain that it will eventually. It was touch and go for a long time as to whether it would ever get approved. Now, I think actually people's attitudes towards GM have softened considerably. There's quite a sea change. I think people are beginning to realize it's been around for a long time. There's no actual documented evidence of any harm from it. There's lots of evidence of it being beneficial for farmers, and now golden rice for consumers. We can save 2 million kids from dying every year with this product. So I think it's inevitable that once the testing is finished, which is ridiculously complicated and full of red tape, because it's just rice with vitamin A in it, but that's the way it is, and once that's done, the Helen Keller International Foundation will do large-scale feeding trials in cities in order to prove that it's delivering the vitamin A to the kids, and then it'll be let free.
Last question on golden rice before we pivot back to what you're here at the conference for. We've talked about the enemy of golden rice and the enemy of feeding these kids. Who are the friends? You mentioned the Helen Keller Foundation. What are the other NGOs who are on our side, on the side of the kids? Who's out there trying to do the right thing? How about the Gates Foundation?
Gates Foundation is the biggest donor.
So they really want this to happen.
Bill Gates understands this issue.
He's a powerful and influential man, obviously.
And Rockefeller too, the Rockefeller Fund.
Isn't that, you know what, I criticize
they were the
guys
first
on
ones.
Things,
well, they're bad on other things.
On this, they're doing something good. Let's give them
They're
credit.
on side on a humanitarian issue like this.
How about, for example, the church? I mean, of course, Mother Teresa was very famous for attending to the poor and the sick. Are local NGOs or Oxfam or Western-based church-based aid agencies, are they involved at all?
Oxfam's as bad as Greenpeace on
Really?
issues like this.
Really?
But the Pope blessed golden rice.
Did he?
With Ingo Potricus, the inventor, present. So that means something. But on the other hand, the Pope just said carbon dioxide was a toxic pollutant. So he's,
Well, let's stay with the scientists and not the religious leaders on this one. Okay, we're here at Idea City. It's a very interesting get-together. I spoke at it some years ago about freedom of speech. You're on the speaking list to talk about what?
I'm on the speaking list to talk about climate, and I congratulate Moses for having the intellectual curiosity to bring some skeptics into this, to show people why there is skepticism about the true belief that the science is settled and the debate is over.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I talk about a lot of controversial subjects. There's nothing more difficult than climate. First, it's so highly politically charged. Second, it's full of emotions about guilt and fear and almost hate on all sides.
Yeah.
And third, it is about the most complicated scientific subject there is in the world today, and it's not easy to explain it in depth to people who don't have the science background. So what I'm here to do is to give a 20-minute talk on why I don't believe carbon dioxide and temperature are related in a cause-effect relationship in the way people are saying they are. The history simply doesn't bear it out. There's been times when temperature was coming down and CO2 was going up, and vice versa. There's been ice ages when CO2 was very high. There's been really hot periods when CO2 was going down.
It's not correlated.
They're sometimes correlated because sometimes they're going in the same direction, but they're very often not. And that does
correlation, not causation. That's
exactly.
what I mean. So they may be going together, but it's just coincidence, is what and that's why a scientist like you've got a PhD in ecology. You were one of the co-founders of Greenpeace, and now you're calling out Greenpeace. How have you been received? You haven't given your talk here yet, have you?
No, I haven't, but my mission now is to completely turn the anti-CO2 thing on its head, because we don't actually have proof that carbon dioxide is causing warming. It has been warming slightly for 300 years since the Little Ice Age ended, but I don't think we had much to do with that. And this may just be the continuation of a natural warming trend that we've had over the last century. As a matter of fact, it looks more like that than it looks like anything that's caused by CO2. On the other hand, we have absolute proof that carbon dioxide is the most important food for all life on Earth. And if there wasn't enough CO2 in the global atmosphere, and it's got down to dangerous levels in recent history, because CO2 for 140 million years has been falling in the global atmosphere as it's not being replaced as fast as it's being pulled out. And guess what's pulling it out? The shells of coral and algae and clams and mussels. Calcium carbonate is being formed as armor plating on marine organisms, and for billions of years has pulled almost all the carbon out of the global atmosphere. So it's just going to keep going down. If we didn't come along and put some of that carbon back in the atmosphere, eventually the plants would start to starve.
Well, let me ask you about some of the other speakers here, because it's not just you. And I've heard your contributions before. You went on the Freedom Cruise with the Sun News Network a couple of years ago. That was a hoot. Also here is Alex Epstein. We're going to talk to him a bit. He's with the Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. Who else is here on the skeptic side? I've never seen this many skeptics allowed in polite company in one time.
The chairman of the Global Warming Policy Foundation, which is a think tank in the UK, is Lord Nigel Lawson, and he was Chancellor of the Exchequer under Margaret Thatcher. Before that, he was a journalist.
He's smart, and of course his daughter Nigella is amazing in her own right.
And the title of his talk is "The Trouble with Climate Change."
And now there's Lord Monkton is here too. He's not here as a speaker, but he's here just to be his amazing personality self, right?
Well, he was here last year, as you know, and to speak, and I think he enjoyed it so much that he's come back.
He's quite
this is a fantastic conference. All the different subjects that are being discussed here, and it's entertaining too. Moses throws in really wonderful music and performance.
Oh yeah, you know, it's amazing to me. I've gotten to know Moses over the last 6 months or so. He loved the Sun News Network and wanted to keep it alive. Alas, that wasn't to be. But I've discovered in him a guy who's so open-minded to other points of view. A lot of folks in the big city consider themselves to be intellectual elites, but are actually closed-minded. I see in Moses, and I'm praising him a bit here, but I've gotten to know him. I like the fact that he is open to new ideas and different people who are different from himself, and I think he's really a thoughtful man.
That's why he is so successful with this conference, because he brings in people with alternative points of view, but people who've really worked to get their presentation down so people really enjoy it. He is not an ideologue. That's what he is not. What he is, as you say, is a very open-minded person.
Well, I'm so glad he's brought you here and the other fellows we talked about. It's nice to see you again, and I know you're always traveling the world for important causes. I look forward to catching up with you whenever we next meet.
Excellent,
nice
Ezra.
To see you.
All the best.
You too.